Welcome everyone to my online public scrutiny meeting for North Yorkshire Police. I am Commissioner Zoe and I'm Police Fire and Crime Commissioner for York and North Yorkshire. So today my team and I have revamped this meeting to give a richer layer of scrutiny, which you'll see through the addition of the item for HMIC improvement plan, and also a spotlight section that is dedicated to questions that have come into my office during the month too.
So our overall crime levels fairly static. You can see at the moment this year we've got that drop in crime. The big thing for us around crime levels is to try and flatten the peaks, because those peaks in demand, those peaks there show rising crime in particular areas, usually starting around this time of year and peaking in the summertime. A lot of that can end up being public order type offences. And things that you would associate with the nighttime economy, the warmer weather, people out more and out longer as well. But it actually, in every single case except fraud, we're lower than the national average, and in some cases really significantly lower. This is still, and I want to get this message out, because I think this is, the fear of crime sometimes is can run rampant. This is still the safest place in England and Wales. This is an amazing place to live, and it's very, very safe. That doesn't mean to say, like you said in the last slide, that we're there resting on our laurels thinking, oh, we're fine, we've got low crime. We will continue to tackle it and continue to work to beat that. So yeah, those are the issues there. The fraud one is higher. We do record fraud, Commissioner, differently to every other force. And I think that's probably worth just mentioning. A lot of forces just hand everything off to action fraud and away it goes. We don't do that. We offer what we call an exemplary service around fraud. We recognise the impact it has on communities. We understand the impact it has on vulnerable communities, some of the elderly victims of fraud where they lose huge amounts of money. So we don't just refer it on, we record it on our system so we can ensure we're able to provide victim contact and that safeguarding provided by our neighbourhood teams as well.
Can I ask a question? I recently met with businesses in and around the county, and I think there's a perception that when crimes are reported, that it's not actioned very quickly in a timely manner by North Yorkshire Police, and there's a feeling that shops are sometimes not bothering to report crimes because of that. So I'm concerned that your stats are skewed, because actually you're not getting the true picture. So can you tell me what work you're doing with the retail sector to improve reporting and outcomes, please, Elliot?
Yeah, we've got a retail crime procedure which we changed at the start of the year. I think it's around February time, and this was designed to be a little bit easier and smoother both for the retailers and for ourselves. So where a retailer, for example, was reporting a theft, but there was nobody there, they got CCTV evidence, etc. Quite often that would mean we'd have to deploy an officer to the shop at some point, gather the CCTV, take the report, etc., etc. And that was usually at a time that was convenient to us and not the retailers as well, and that's our downtime. So we've got the retail initiative, which means that retailers can package up the CCTV. There's a pack they can fill in, say how it's done, and send it in. I think it's fair to say we probably haven't seen the best uptake on that one. And I was talking to someone about this fairly recently. And there's now going to be and I'll put my hands up to this, we probably should have thought of this when we started, in all fairness. There's now going to be a digital way of doing it rather than the manual way, so that people can submit it through the single online home, which will be a lot slicker, a lot easier for people to do. And I think once we start to see that, and we will publicise that again with businesses and retailers, we should start to see more of that coming through. It's theft, it's a crime, it's not something that we're just going to say we're not dealing with, because it really is important. And I think it's really important to say as well that still, if violence is involved, if a suspect has been detained, or there's other factors around vulnerability, then we will still attend. We will still go there. We will still deal with that as what we used to call in my day, way back when, dealing with shoplifters was bread and butter for us, and we still will deal with those. But just to offer that reassurance to the retail sector, Commissioner, through my head of crime as well, who will be working with them on this, we will streamline that and monitor it, and maybe something later on in the year bring back and say how that's going and report back on the uptake.
Alex, through you to Elliot and to the chief, can I just ask a question? Obviously, you've got both unitary partners, North Yorkshire Highways, and you've got City of York Council as well, who's their highways, on the Road Safety Partnership. And so there's been a lot of talk locally, you know, across North Yorkshire about 20 miles per hour and whether those speed limits should drop. I know that's something that North Yorkshire Council are looking at, but am I right in thinking that they would bring that proposal if they want to, you know, if they were to do that, and have those discussions in the Road Safety Partnership so we can have a wider conversation? Is that the forum that it would normally come to, the route and the process?
Yeah. I think I'll just build this one. Alex and I have actually discussed this fairly recently, in all fairness. Yeah, we have discussed 20-mile-an-hour speed limits in the group. As you would imagine, it forms part of the overall plan, the overall strategy where we need to do this. But yeah, this should be a partnership approach to it, because otherwise, if it's done unilaterally, it'll just be done in isolation of other partners who can't then assist with it. So we would expect you know, that to come through to the strategic partnership. We'll have the discussions, a proposal put forward in the same way as ever, but that wider consultation, because what bits of it can each of us support to make that sustainable? And I know that we've discussed this in the past around the sustainability of speed reduction, but I know it's a really emotive thing for people, and speed reduction sustainability is absolutely vital. So we would bring that through the partnership, in my view, Commissioner. Absolutely, yeah.
But can I just be clear, have we had any formal consultation from North Yorkshire or City of York on any proposed 20 miles per hour speed reducing limits?
No, there's been nothing at the Strategic Road Safety Partnership at the moment. We've literally, it's one of those things that we'll have discussed in passing, but no formal consultation around it at the moment.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to the next slide, please. So from an enforcement perspective, just pick one out there in relation to evaluating the efficiency of speed enforcement deployments to determine the most effective measure to reduce risk. So we've obviously got the academic piece that Mr. Foskett talked about there, which will really answer a lot of the questions that have come through from the public. It is time that we do review the position that we have from a speed enforcement perspective. We're aware that we use an agile camera safety van approach to speed management, as well as officers on the ground and our community speed watch, and hopefully that academic piece will give us a steer on which direction the partnership which to go moving forward. We are aware other forces are moving away from fixed sights and average cameras to more an agile, and the rationale for when this was introduced is because of our geography, and being able to be agile, to be in the rural locations and use that. But we'll take that academic piece and very much learn from it, and if there are opportunities to bring them through the partnership approach and take them forward through that.
I suppose really, I think let's just talk about this a little bit further, because I know we've had lots of questions about it. You know, it's about what's helping the communities as well. And although mobile speed vans are there for a certain amount of time during the day, once or twice a week, you know, whatever, but fixed cameras are there all the time, aren't they? And, you know, it's about that. What is going to make a difference to the community and to save lives for motorists as well, that is going to be there all the time. And that's why it's important to have conversations with our partners about how we, road engineering, which is the best way. So that's why this enforcement review is so essential, isn't it?
It absolutely is, Commissioner. And the Chief would not be happy if I didn't say that we have to be evidence-led and data-led on this. Because if we decide to go and move to something because we think, oh, feels like it should be the right approach, we'll completely miss the point of it. And again, enforcement, coming back to my bit at the very start of this, is a partnership approach.
Yes.
This bit in the black here it tends to be, this is where we are, but the engineering parts that you've just talked about tend to be that more sustainable. How do you traffic calming, slowing people down? There's a range of ways that stop people ever getting to the point where they're sitting there with another 3 points on their license. We don't want them to speed and catch them. We want them not to speed at all. So that's where we should be.
Okay, so this is a biggie, actually. I'm asked this a lot. So why don't the police enforce 20-mile-per-hour speed limits? And actually, Councillor Mann has gone a bit further, and he's asking why actually the police, North Yorkshire Police, why aren't they undertaking periodic and visible enforcement activities around schools?
Alex, do you want to pick that one up?
Yeah, sure. You know, very emotive. We're talking about children here, and we need to be doing everything we can to protect our children and protect all age groups. So, from if a 20-mile-an-hour zone is put in place, the reason why it's been put in place is normally around proximity of the school. So there might be a traffic regulation order that might actually restrict us from doing enforcement as part of that order. But also, when you put 20 mile an hour into an area, there'll be other calming measures, speed bumps, islands, and things like that. Now, there's the being agile enough. There's to be in different locations around the county. However, when you're talking about putting a camera safety van into a narrow street near a school, you could potentially be creating another problem. So all of this has got to be balanced. But there are other ways that we can do speed enforcement on there. But we've also got, it comes back to being data led, is where are people dying and being seriously injured on our roads, and the data shows us that it isn't in 20 miles an hour roads, it's in other areas. So where do we deploy our resources? In those high harm locations to try and drive those down. But of course, we are going to incorporate this because it's very, very visible to us as a partnership that this is a big issue for the communities, and it's something that we have to listen to, understand, and find ways of approaching it to reassure the public. And we can do that in some of the methods that we mentioned there, including community speed watch, including utilisation of our community support officers, as well as engineering solutions.
So moving on to the next slide, please, Elaine. So this is about our improvement plan. So just to set the background to this, this is in relation to our HMIC, so His Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary is our independent audit body who come in and inspect policing in respect of police efficiency, effectiveness and legitimacy. So you'll have heard it called the Peel inspection. So that audit body inspect every force in the country, and they not only do the overarching Peel inspection of efficiency, effectiveness, legitimacy for every force, they also do lots and lots of thematic inspections. So you'll have seen on some of these public meetings that the Commissioner has chaired our National Child Protection Inspection. We've also had a custody inspection this year, and we pick up the learning from other thematic inspections, even if they don't involve our force being inspected. So if we're not a dip sampled force, we still take the learning from those thematic inspections. So this improvement plan update is about our overarching improvement plan in response to our Peel inspection, which took place in the autumn last year and reported on the 17th of March this year. But we've obviously been working on it since our debrief in November last year, straight after the initial inspection findings. So we've got a very detailed chart to show you in a couple of slides' time. But overall, there is a detailed improvement plan, and overall, the key update for today is the overall improvement plan is on track. There are some exception areas that we monitor in detail, but overall, out of the plethora of improvement actions that are on that plan, we are overall on track, and you'll see that on the chart that I'll show you shortly.
Which we've had over 50 complaints from the public in relation to fox hunting and the approach taken by North Yorkshire Police. So there are allegations that wildlife crime has been allowed to take place and reports to the police were not taken seriously. So the questions are, how do North Yorkshire Police engage with hunting groups within the county and ensure that illegal activity is addressed? Does North Yorkshire Police Rural Crime Team ever engage with hunting events and check hunting activities to ensure they're carried out with accordance to the law? And how many cases of illegal hunting activity occurrences have been reported to North Yorkshire Police in the last 12 months, and what were the outcomes? Thank you.
I think I'm going to answer this question, but I'm really mindful actually that Alex has a lot to do with the Rural Task Force, so I'm quite sure that he can expand on some of the things I'm going to talk about. So again, just mindful of time and keep it brief. So thank you for the questions. So yes, we spend a lot of time dealing with wildlife crime in North Yorkshire. It's a real focus for us as a rural force. And that's why we've got a dedicated rural task force, and we do engage really closely with the National Wildlife Crime Unit and do a lot of work around this. But I do appreciate that we cover such a big rural area that has such a lot of wildlife that there are still matters that we need to tackle. So specifically on these questions, Commissioner, so just setting the scene, the usual season for this is between August and May as a time frame, if you like. So predominantly cub hunting gets reported to us from August through to the end of October. And then fox hunting is predominantly in November to the end of April, although obviously hunting complaints can happen at any time of the year, but that's the predominant period. Over the past 12 months, we've had 31 incidents reported to us as North Yorkshire Police. It might be multiple calls for the same event, but it's 31 actual reported incidents. But as I say, there might be some overlap there. And these are reports where there is suspected illegal fox hunting. We still have one incident that's under investigation, which relates to a hunting incident in Rydale. All the others have been resolved, and I appreciate they might not have been resolved to people's satisfaction. But for example, when people call the control room, there's a very clear question set that the call handler goes through. So you might find some of the logs have been closed as no further action, because when the call handler has gone through the question set, it's somebody ringing up with some anecdotal information about fox hunting. They haven't actually witnessed anything. There's no evidence. There isn't physically anywhere for us to go and carry out any live inquiries, for example. So that's why those logs would be closed, because there isn't physically anything. It's intelligence, but it is really good intelligence, and we act on that intelligence. So the fourth stance is we investigate all hunt-related incidents that are reported. And one of our values is impartiality. And the other values we have in our organisation are integrity and respect. So when I talk about impartiality, we investigate every report. It doesn't matter who's reported it. And we appreciate there is tension between those who perhaps are being accused of illegal activity versus hunt groups versus those people that try to disrupt hunt activity. We will respond impartially to all allegations of hunt-related incidents and crimes. Fox hunting is not currently a National Wildlife Crime Unit priority, but we do take calls very seriously, as I say, because that is, as North Yorkshire, we do have a lot of incidents here in North Yorkshire reported to us, and that's reflected in the 50 complaints that you've mentioned yourself, Commissioner. So officers investigate with impartiality. We keep channels of communication open, and you asked again in that question there about our visits and our engagement. We absolutely engage right across the rural community in relation to this issue, and we visit some of the most complained about hunts. So during the next hunt year, we've got a calendar of the most complained about hunt locations, and we go out proactively into those places and engage with those communities and as I say, in all stakeholders in this environment we engage with, and the Rural Task Force prioritises attending those incidents during that hunt season period. So I hope, and I'll pause there just because of time, and I know Alex wants to come in perhaps from some of the work he's done on Rural Task Force.
Very quickly,
we do take it seriously.
Very quickly, Alex, please, can you come in?
Yeah, it will be quick. It's just it is a very challenging offence to get over the line from an evidential perspective, meet the charging threshold. But what we do is we work closely with specialist CPS support to ensure that when we do have cases that may come close to it, that we can proceed if the evidential threshold's met. And so we're getting the best advice from National Wildlife Crime Unit and CPS to ensure where opportunities are that we can.